Once you know these next 18 things, you'll be ready to play Anno 117 Pax Romana. Yes, even you, Kevin. This video is sponsored by Ubisoft. Many thanks to Ubisoft for providing me an opportunity to lay out the absolute basics of Anno 117 Pax Romana for you, approaching this as though it's your first Anno game like it was for me. Anno doesn't exactly have a win condition per se. Instead, the game offers a variety of self-driven goals that players can work towards alongside its rewarding gameplay loop. Perhaps the closest consideration to a win condition would be completing the campaign mode, which we'll discuss more soon. Other goals you can work towards include building a monument, unlocking the final tier of population, completing the various accolades in the game which function like achievements, merrily conquesting your way to wiping out your neighbors, or just building the most beautiful settlements. When you start a new game in Anno 117 Pax Romana, you are given the choice between campaign or endless mode. The common suggestion is to play through the campaign for your first foray, and I generally agree. It does function essentially as the game's tutorial. Once you have completed campaign mode's 2 acts, it allows you to continue playing that same save file in the same way endless mode offers. That is, endlessly. The two main differences between campaign and endless modes are in the storyline and game setup. Campaign mode has a full story to experience with more in-depth quests surrounding it. In endless mode, you'll still have the odd smaller quest from another governor or a citizen that you can optionally fulfill, but no overarching plot that the game is bringing you through. For game setup, much of it is decided for you in campaign mode, but in endless mode, you can choose your own character customization, which province to start with, map generation settings, changes to other governors, raiders, and the emperor, and some settings about your start in the world. Now, once you have created your campaign mode game, you can go to game setup in the options and tinker with the bits available under the game balance tab, which are also available in endless mode. Upon starting a new campaign game, you choose between playing as Marcia or Marcus. Don't stress about this choice, it's almost entirely just self-expression.
My name is Marcus Titania, and I am an imposter.
There aren't any mechanical differences between the two in gameplay, just a slight variation in the story being told through the campaign. The core gameplay loop of Anno 117 is this. Place the fundamental production chain buildings required to be able to support your first population and connect everything with roads. At the very beginning of the game, this means the woodcutter and sawmill come first, more on those in a sec, and they supply the timber needed to build your first warehouses and residences. Next, fulfill enough of your first population tier's needs to upgrade some of them to the next tier, then do so. New production chain options will unlock, so you place them down and use their output to start fulfilling your second population tier's needs, then upgrade some of that population to the third tier. Now you see the basic pattern, right? At different points in this unlock, build, fulfill, upgrade loop, you will have other pieces to manage like your research tree, religion choices, diplomacy, or battle with other governors and raiders. You may also come across a need that you can't fulfill because your starting island doesn't have the raw resource required to get started on the production chain. This is solved by settling another island, then essentially working through the core gameplay loop on that new island. Eventually, you'll use different resources from different islands, set up trade routes with yourself, and incorporate this into your core gameplay loop. Each need category of a residence only requires enough of its needs to satisfy its bar to full green in order to unlock the next population tier. But each need provides its own benefits or attributes that will only be applied if they are satisfied for that specific residence. This waiter residence, for example, only has one of the 2 public service needs fulfilled, but I am still able to upgrade it if I want to because I have at least one of each category fulfilled. If I were to place a market close enough, I would also gain a population and income from this residence. Notice that the second set of each population tier's buildings have a shown area of effect. This effect will apply to all buildings within that area, not just the population tier in question. This is the same for other buildings with an area of effect like the City Watch buildings or some production chain buildings. As you're placing these, pay attention to the icons that appear above buildings that already exist. The green up arrow indicates the positive effect will happen for this building. The red down arrow indicates the negative effect will happen for this building. Both a green and red arrow means this building will gain both a positive and negative effect. And the gray diamond means this building won't see any changes to its effects, likely because it is already within the area of effect of an existing building the same as you're trying to place. Covering as many buildings as possible with these positive effects and as few buildings as possible with the negative effects strongly impacts your settlements and is a core feature of the game. The indicators for area of effect with the City Watch buildings is also important to understand how far their services are able to reach in case their associated event is happening. For example, this ToadieZzz will not send out its incident units to respond to unrest at this reed gatherer because its area of effect doesn't reach. 100% coverage for these City Watch buildings would require that their range, which I use the green overlay on roads to see most easily, touch every single building. I tend to move my City Watch buildings around as needed instead, as their maintenance costs can be quite pricey. And if you're like me, much of the difficulty you'll encounter at various points in the game will come down to the fact that you're bleeding money. The primary way to earn income in Anno is through your residences. If you need to improve your income, look at which residences needs provide income as a bonus and prioritize those. To show it simply, in this very early setup, I am only supplying porridge to my Libertas. ToadieZzz's attribute is population, nothing else. So when I look at my governance screen, I am making 0 income. But as soon as I start to provide sardines, which have the income attribute, I am starting to make my first money. I prefer to build slowly at the start of the game and focus on needs that have the income attribute until my overall financial balance goes positive. Then I branch out, fulfilling other needs and adding other infrastructure, all the while trying to never let it get negative again. And if it does, I prioritize adding more residences and fulfilling their income earning needs. You can move buildings. I find myself moving buildings by clicking it once to select it, then clicking and dragging it to its new location. You can also find the relocate tool down here at the bottom, which has the default keybind of G. It even lets you marquee select multiple buildings and roads to relocate at once. And yes, you can relocate roads. Right click exists, as does this hotbar with each of its actions assigned to a number key on your keyboard. You can customize both the right-click menu and the hotkey bar, and they're not tied to each other. This means you can have 10 actions available on the hotkey bar and be able to access them by either clicking there or pressing their respective number on your keyboard, as well as 8 different actions available in your right-click menu. To edit either of these, just click and hold the building or action you want and drag it onto the space you want it to be in. With default settings, buildings will be instantly built as long as you have all of the construction cost for it available. If you try to place a building and don't have part of its construction cost available, a plan for that building will be placed instead. Once you then gain what's needed, you'll have to click on the building and click this button for it to be constructed, or use the upgrade tool to do so. You can access this planning mode at any time with this box in the bottom right corner of the screen or with default keybind V. You can also change the auto plan building setting under the game tab in your options if you would prefer to not have buildings be placed at all without their construction costs available. At the beginning of a brand new game, you only have a certain amount of timber to build with. You can see how much at the bottom of your screen, conveniently displayed on the timber button. Once you have spent all of that timber, nothing new requiring timber will be built until you produce more by building and connecting 1 or 2 woodcutters and sawmills. So, do so immediately. Don't be like me and panic at the start of a game if you've built your woodcutter, sawmill, warehouse, residences, and roads connecting everything, but don't see your population increasing. It's like you've built everything available, but nothing's happening, right? First, unpause if you haven't already. Then you'll have your first population tier become available. But even if you unlock their first needs buildings and let the game run, you won't see any population come in besides your workforce. That's because, like the income attribute from earlier, you gain this population from fulfilling residences' needs. See here, I have 8 residences, each gaining 1 population attribute from sardines, so my population is 8. As you go through the core gameplay loop, it may be tempting to upgrade all of your population to the next tier, but you actually can't do this. Well, you do possibly have the option available to do so, but it generally won't work out well for you. Many buildings have a maintenance cost. Beside the financial cost, you'll often see a different symbol that represents the workers needed in that building, and if a building requires the first population tier to work in it, well, you need some of that population available to work in it. Buildings will stop producing goods until they have workforce or population of the correct tier available to work in them. Storage of items in Anno 1.17 is, in a way, magical. Each island that you have settled has its own storage to access. The amount of good you can store is determined per island and is based on the trading posts and depots you have on that specific island. There are various techs throughout the economic research tree that improve your storage capacities. What does not improve your storage capacity is placing warehouses. Instead, think of them as simply a way for production buildings to access wares that you do have housed, either to drop off their goods or to pick them up. You settle another island by bringing any boat close to its shore. Once your ship is close enough, you'll see a plan appear. Click it, then click Build Trading Post to pay the cost shown and turn the plan into a new trading post. The cost scales with island size, as do the land taxes you'll pay over time. You don't have to bring supplies to the island in order to buy it, but anything that you had stored in its founding boat will move to its storage upon its founding. You'll certainly have an easier start if you bring some of the basics versus having to wait for your first production chains to get up and running. Speaking of boats, don't forget you have one. I'm pretty sure every single endless mode save I've started, I've spent an embarrassing number of hours planning and building with my little island, making things all pretty and telling myself I'm so good at this game because I'm finally free from the sudden burden of an insufferable debt. Only to remember, oh yeah, this guy exists. Send your little ship exploring, meet your neighbors, discover the world. It is, after all, rather gorgeous. Hope this helps get you on your feet with Anno 1.17 Pax Romana, especially if you're a newcomer to the series. If you're looking for something a little more advanced, my next video, coming very soon, will be 45 more Anno 1.17 tips, and they'll go well beyond this beginner stuff. Thanks again to Ubisoft for sponsoring this video, and a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon, like Choose Red Mage, who I've heard has actually exclusively chosen white, black, blue, green, and time mages throughout their life, which leads me to believe their username is simply a desperate call for others to take on the burden of balancing the global impact of mage choice, and frankly, I'm appalled.